Hello and welcome to Sports Talk. I'm your host, Ken Semelsberger, the Athletic Director for Port Huron Area Schools. Our first guest for today is Paul Harris, the varsity boys tennis coach at Port Huron High School. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay. First, let's talk a little bit about your background and how you got to be a tennis coach at Port Huron High School. I know you do a number of other sports too. I know freshman basketball and JV softball. So let's talk a little bit about your background and how you ended up being the tennis coach at Port Huron High.
Well, it probably goes back to Chippewa. When Chippewa was still in the district, I had coached there, and I'd coached 3 or 4 sports a year. Got to know the people around. When I moved to Port Huron High School after the closing of Chippewa, I was looking to start coaching again because that's something I really enjoy. And Mr. Wagner, our athletic director over at PH, started out with a basketball job, freshman boys basketball. And from there, the JV softball came up the same year, and I took that on. That same year, Greg Barra, the longtime coach at Port Huron High School for tennis, decided that it was time to have somebody new take over. And I'd played recreational tennis, but was never on a team. So I talked to Coach Wagner and said, hey, Mr. Wagner, do you think I can? And he says, look, are you going to teach the kids, and are you going to have them enjoy it? And I said, yes, I can do that. He says, then you're my guy. And so from there on, I talked to Mr. Barra. Jeremy Rosenau is the girls' varsity tennis coach, talked to him a lot. Lori Shimko works with our program and has for a long time. Spoke with her as well. Hey, would you stay on and work with me to teach me these things? And Lori said yes, and the rest is history.
Well, good. And Lori, I've known Lori a long time. I know what a great job she does working with both the boys and the girls program. So
right.
It's good to have her around. Her knowledge and background is really helpful. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit about this year's team. I know it wasn't as successful as you'd hoped for, but I know at Port Huron High School, a lot of times they don't get the young men who have played a lot of tennis and gone to the tennis house and things like that. You normally get a lot of athletes and you try to make them tennis players. Talk a little bit about this year's team and about some of the things that you've gone through with this year's team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We don't get the tennis players. So Coach Shimko has always said, give me some athletes, I'll make them into tennis players. We had great kids this year. We struggled to get our 12, so a couple of years ago, the band director, Scott Jones, said, hey, I'll get you some guys. So during band practice, he just put out a all-points bulletin, hey, we need 12 guys to play some tennis, and got some band kids. Well, out of those, my number 1, Cameron Lee, came out of that band group. And Cameron never took a lesson before. First year he played low doubles, and by the second year, after playing all summer, he moved right up into the singles, and he just does a terrific job now. So, and Cameron comes back. He was only a junior, so really looking forward to seeing what Cameron can do. I've got a fantastic freshman who will be now with the program for 3 more years. His name's Isaiah Rousey. Mm-hmm. This year he came in playing the 3 singles spot and played well above his maturity level. I was talking to his dad. He's one of my freshman boys basketball players as well. And his dad said that they were going to start doing some lessons over the weekends. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Isaiah can do. I have a new player. His name was Joey Myers. Played high doubles for me this year. He also is taking lessons. So this is going to be new for Port Huron High School, having kids that are taking lessons at the tennis house and be able to come and play for us.
What about some of the kids coming in for the middle schools? Have you heard or seen any of those kids play yet?
The only one that I know of for sure is my son, who's an 8th grader. He's going to come over. He took up the sport when I got the job because we'll go and hit during the summer, and I'll open up the house to get the balls and that out for the guys. And he's hit around, and he really enjoys it. So he said he's going to do that instead of football. And as far as anybody else, normally we'll go over to the school at the end of the school year and just recruit. Hey, if you're not a football player and you want to be involved, well, how about tennis? And I can sell it with, you get a varsity letter your first year for the most point because we need as many people as we can get.
So what about some of the young, do you wear a young team this year? And Do you have a lot of kids coming back?
Very young team. I had 16 players this year, which is good for us. You need 12 to fill out a whole team. We didn't have enough for a JV, but I did have extra players. As far as coming back, like I said, my number 1 comes back. That's Cameron. My number 3 is coming back, Isaiah. I also have low doubles that are coming back. Brian Haynes, who's a varsity basketball player, he will come back and play either singles or high doubles. He was a high doubles player for me last year. Cody Badger, who's also a varsity basketball player, he picked it up in the middle of the season, just came out and, yeah, I can do this. Well, he came and sure enough, he got pretty good at it. Jared Churchill is coming back. Jared was a sophomore this year. So was R.J. Arnold. Ian Hayes is a lacrosse player. He doubled with my oldest son this year, and they ended up winning the MAC Blue in the tournament. So I'd like to try to keep them together and move them up higher into the ranks.
So how does it look for in the future, the MAC Blue? What do you see for the next year's team in the MAC Blue?
With the MAC Blue, you never know. Most of the MAC Blue is just teams exactly like us. They're not sure if they're going to get their 12 players. They don't traditionally get tennis professional kids that have had practice in the past or lessons in the past. So you're never quite sure what you're going to get, but with Cameron coming back, Isaiah placed very high at the MAC Blue last year, and like I said, Ian and my son won their flight last year. I think we've got good things coming up.
Oh, great. Great. It sounds good. Well, thanks, Paul. Thanks for being our guest on Sports Talk, and I'm sure that the future of Port Huron tennis is in great hands. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you.
That concludes our first segment of today's show. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to Sports Talk for our second segment. Our guest for this segment is Nathan LaBelle, the boys tennis coach at Port Huron Northern. Nathan, I just want to start off by congratulating you on a great season. Thank you. Great job you've done with the boys tennis team at Northern, bringing them back to a state power.
Yeah,
and that's something that you've been accomplishing, and Northern's had a great program for years, especially in girls, and now the boys are catching up to the girls.
Yeah, they're doing okay.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's talk about you first. Give us a little bit of your background and how you ended up becoming the boys coach at Port Huron Northern.
It's cool. I feel like I've been a part of the community for quite some time. I grew up in Port Huron, went to school right at Port Huron Northern, went off to college, came back, and I got a teaching job, and I was a tennis player during my high school years,
Yep,
so I had
I
had experience on JV, varsity, and then I really got a position open, and then I applied for the boys, and with the tennis background, I think it transitioned pretty smoothly. So yeah, I've been playing at Sanborn for quite some time. Wasn't a college level player, but I know enough about the game to help some of these guys out and succeed in the program.
And what's real nice about Northern is that they are close to the tennis house, and many of your players have been playing for a long time.
Right.
They've come through the tennis house program, so you get them. They're not rookies. They've played a lot of tennis.
Especially this year, I got quite a few freshmen. At least two off the top of my head. Our 3 and 4 single spots opened up. So we have, John Beatrice played 3 for us. Nishan McKean played 4. So they did a good job. With freshmen, they didn't have a ton of match level experience, but they've played so much at the tennis house that they've got the technique down and everything pretty solid. So I was pretty proud of them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this year's teams. Let's talk first of all about way you guys have come all the way to the state tournament and how you did in the state tournament. Kind of talk about your season in general.
Well, we've, to I guess, jump right to the end, we finished tied for 9th place at the state competition.
And that was one of your goals, to be a top 10 finisher.
Yep, we had a few articles in the Times Herald. Just that was our goal, always top 10. You know, eventually want to be shooting for that top 5.
Right.
Just it depends on how the whole team does. We had a few guys get some points at states, 1 singles, 2 singles. We had some state finalists, but we've done a pretty good job with just getting some points.
And how'd you do in the MAC Red, the tough MAC Red division?
Yeah, just a lot of teams in the region are tough. We played Grosse Pointe South. We lost to them, but we still had a few victories here and there. Our 1 and 2 singles were strong. We play against Eisenhower, where we're very strong in singles. They're very strong in doubles. So we had some swing matches here and there. But overall, I think we earned a lot of points. I forget the number exact. It was in the 30s someplace, but we advanced to the state finals pretty easily. But our competition is pretty good.
Right, that's good. That's great. Let's talk about some of your players and some of the kids and how they did for you this year.
We had an interesting team. We had people from all different sort of backgrounds. We've got our 1 and 2 singles. They get a lot of the fame. They've really put the work in required to get there. Franklin Brozovic is our 1. He's been playing for quite some time. Same thing with our 2, Chris Adams. I don't know when he started, but he's been playing for a while. Chris was a state semifinalist. Franklin did very well, and what was the hardest part for us was our doubles program. And the doubles part, a little bit more difficult. Some of our tennis players were more hockey players than anything, so I think they've done probably the biggest job just kind of filling in our roster, our 3 and 4 doubles. You know, a lot of them they have the skill required to get to win some matches. But their tennis wasn't really their background. They're more hockey players, but they did a good job. They got us some points, and
well,
really
hockey's a pretty good crossover sport for those kids too.
Yeah, just the hand-eye coordination and everything. Those guys were fast, and they brought a lot of spirit to the team. Our 3 doubles, a lot of kids were fairly quiet on their team. They were loud and just
typical hockey players.
Yep, just rooting for us, and just on the court, they were just awesome to watch.
So did you have a young team this year, or?
Relatively young. Not a ton of seniors, so I think we're going to lose 5, but we'll probably gain about that number though too. Probably the most exciting part is, Franklin at 1 is he's a junior. He'll be a senior next year. Same thing with Chris, a state finalist. He's a sophomore going to be a junior. So we've got still room to develop the program. I think next year will be even better than this year. Not to say that this year was a poor showing by any means, but next year we've got the chance to really nail down that top 1 through 7, and I don't know, see how it goes.
Okay, great. Anything else you'd like to add before we leave?
I know a lot of our guys are putting a good word for our team. Just a lot of them are putting on a bunch of work, or doing a lot of work during the off season. We've got our 1 and 2 singles again. They're going down to Novi, playing some matches here and there. So the winter rolls around. They're not done with tennis. They're playing almost year round, and ready to get the 2015 season rolling.
Oh, great. So. Well, thank you, Nathan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. That concludes our show for today. Thank you for being here. Until next time, Ken Semelsberger, District Athletic Director for Portland Area Schools, and this was Sports Talk.